Cameron Brink, a homecoming for her. She played at Mountainside High School in Beaverton, which is part of the Portland metropolitan area, when she was introduced just a couple of minutes ago. Many of the fans here at the Child Center on their feet, including her parents, Greg and Michelle, who are in attendance. And believe it or not, Stanford has never played a women's basketball game in the city of Portland, ever.
That's
in
incredible.
Any capacity.
That's incredible.
No tournaments, no nothing. That all changes today. Stanford with the Cardinal uniforms, and right away, reaffirmed.
Yeah, Kiki Iriafen is a player who, just watching film already in this young season, has improved so much for Stanford. Another interior presence.
Iriafen last year as a freshman only averaged about 4 points a game, is throwing in 10 points per game, more than that, and that is a terrific drive, but not a finish for Lindsay. And then off the glass, Portland responds.
Well, one of the things Coach Meek was talking about was being able to attack the basket. That time forcing a rotation and getting a second opportunity. We are going to see a steady dose of the full court pressure all game long.
Alex Fowler with the basket on the other end. There's Haley Jones with the basketball in her hands. So much point guard responsibility for her last season. Often with the miss that time. Stanford now has Talana Lipolo, number 10, who is handling a lot of the point guard responsibilities this season. Outside shot, Cochran, off the mark. And now Jones bringing the ball up by herself. Jones not shooting the ball well early on this year. Brink, turnaround. Rebound taken down by Maisie Burnham. Burnham takes it right to Haley Jones, very aggressive, and draws the foul.
Well, this is a confident, Portland group. This is a team that's experienced success. They understand what it takes. They see this as an opportunity and a challenge on their home floor. They're going to continue to be aggressive.
They won 20 games last year, lost in the second round of the women's NIT to Oregon State. Burnham heads to the free throw line, and no one has more wins in the history of this game than Tara Vanderveer, who has been on the bench, 37th year now. For the Cardinal, picked up a national championship a couple of years ago and were upset in the Final Four by UConn last year in one of the semifinals after a spectacular season in which they ran the table in the Pac-12. Jones with the drive. Gets her own miss. Off glass this time for Haley.
I love how Haley Jones found that angle. You mentioned struggling a little bit from the floor right now. Tara Vanderveer's not worried. She's going to find it. But that time, finds the angle, gets an opportunity off the glass. You got a little bit more margin for error when you use that backboard.
Only hitting 32% from the floor. Haley's not hit a three yet this season. Shot clock in the single digits.
When you have to think about the role that she's playing for this team this season, a lot of lead guard, handling the basketball, and oftentimes when you're worried about getting your team in offense, when you're worried about setting the tone, facilitating, sometimes that mentally adds a little bit of pressure when you're shooting the basketball. Stanford's going to look to get that high post pass all night long against this 2-3 zone, but speaking of Haley Jones, I mean, her ability to use her size, she doesn't get the first one, but great position on the offensive glass, and then finds the angle to attack. We don't see a lot of players use the backboard like that anymore.
No, you don't. That's very old school. Now Cameron Brink heads to the free throw line. All-American last year. She had 91 blocks on the season, more than 168 teams in the country had. She had that all by her lonesome. And an opportunity to come home and play in front of her home fans. fact, Michael Meek, the head coach for Portland, was her youth basketball coach.
Said he coached her all the way up until about her sophomore year in high school. His daughter played with Cameron Brink, won 2 state championships together.
And then Cameron went to a different high school for her senior season. First scoring game so far. Jones left alone is 0 for 6 from 3. Didn't even look to take the 3, but got a better shot.
And you see just the activity level by Kiki Arioff, and she gets a post-entry pass. She knows Stanford is a disciplined team. She knows it's going to go inside, backside, and then Haley Jones finds her again.
Arioff and just looking like a totally different player so far this season, and Tara Vanderveer credits her hard work during the offseason. Stanford almost forced the turnover.
And one of the things that Michael Meek talked about with Stanford is just their discipline. They're organized, and you can see it goes inside, backside, and then attacking the high post. We saw Stanford work on this today in shoot-around. They understand where the ball is going to go, who and when they're going to get their touches, and where the best shot on the floor comes from.
Full shot clock now for the Pilots. Now we're getting it inside. There's Brinks. But a terrific move to get around for the basket. Kaitu'u, the junior from Salt Lake City. Brink again fouled after an offensive rebound.
And what a move by Kaitu'u. Now, both of these teams extremely well coached, and Coach Meek talked to his team today about using pivots, staying fundamental, and they're not just a move and a counter move, but finishes with the up and under.
Foul on Bruno sends Brink back to the line. Wednesday night, college basketball on ESPN2. Drew Timme and number 2 Gonzaga taking on the Texas Longhorns, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific from Austin. Bulldogs won last year, also available on the ESPN app. Great non-conference games in November and December for you. That time, Kaitu'u got called for steps trying to get around Cameron Brink. Kaitu'u, by the way, listed at 6 feet tall. Cameron Brink at 6'4", but I dispute that.
She does look a little taller than 6'4".
6'6", I think.
That's your guesstimate?
Yep. She certainly looks and plays like it. Hannah Jump, number 33. Is a great outside shooter for Stanford. We haven't seen her take one yet. Brink showing her versatility, but it rims out. Ball taken down by Emmy Shearer, who is one of several players from New Zealand. It's a team with a lot of international flavor between Australia and New Zealand. Fowler after some good defense again by Kiki. Jones just made a little bit of a move to get space.
And that shot looked really good. And again, you see Stanford working on these things in their shooting practice today. That one dribble pull-up, attack the gap. Really good lift on that shot by Haley Jones.
Meek, number 1, had the ball briefly. That is the coach's daughter, Mikkel Meek, for Portland. Both of these teams have deep benches. And that's a foul. And Shearer went up for the shot. We have the first timeout.
Now Haley Jones, the ultimate utility player right here, takes advantage of the gap, the 1 or 2 dribble pull up, uses that link, nice touch for an easy 2.
Join us Tuesday night on ESPN for the 12th Annual State Farm Champions Classic, Kentucky, Michigan State, later on Duke, Kansas, and in between games, the exclusive reveal for the next college football playoff top 25 rankings, all on ESPN and the ESPN app Tuesday. Welcome back to Portland. Stanford, the number 2 team in the country behind South Carolina, who they will play a week from today on ABC. leading the Pilots by 5. And Shearer at the line. You see she's from Auckland, New Zealand. One of 3 New Zealanders on this team. They also have 7 Australians. It was Haley Andrews, the senior, who was hurt out with an ACL she tore back in February, who kind of got the Pacific Islander vibe going here.
And that's what it takes. It takes one to come, have a good experience at a university, and then she's from the same hometown as Alex Fowler, and word just kind of spread. And now Michael Meek has that international connection as they force a turnover in the backcourt. And this is that pressure. I mean, this is a team who loves to press. They're going to run and jump. They're going to look to trap at any opportunity. They are good at it, and certainly a concern for any team that's coming in here playing this Portland Pilots team.
And that is really part of Portland's DNA, is that they like to trap, give pressure 40 minutes a game, and Coach Meek told us at shoot-around that they're going to do that as much as they can today. The coach's kid with the miss, Ashton Prechtel, who's in the game for Stanford, got the rebound.
And Tara Vanderveer talked about this Pilots team being one that's tough to prepare for. They run a lot of stuff on offense, but they also change things up on the defensive end of the floor, and they just keep coming at you.
Levar in the game now for Stanford. Prechtel, who at 6'5", is a three-point shooter. In fact, has the most three-point shots made for a player 6'5" or taller in the country over the last 3 seasons. Another foul here on Portland. There's a good look at Ashton, who is from Colorado Springs. Such a deep bench. And Coach Vanderveer said that she's still trying to get the puzzle pieces in the right places with all of these players.
When you think about what they lost, I mean, they lost 3 starters in the Hull sisters as Hannah Jump does what she does best and knocks down a 3, and you lose Anna Wilson. You lose 3 starters, but you return a lot, and that's what November and December is about, putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Tara Vanderveer's team 3-0 on the season, winning by an average score of 96-44, and nobody's played more than 20 minutes a game, and the balance shows.
Yeah, this is a team that has such great depth. They can come at you in waves, and Tara Vanderveer's challenge is finding the right rotations, not just who to play and when, but who plays well together. And being able to find that balance, being able to find that chemistry on the floor is something that they're going to utilize this preseason for throughout conference play. As a terrific move right there by India Navarre, so that by the time they're in postseason, they know exactly which buttons to push and who plays best with each other.
Stanford favored to win the Pac-12 yet again. They've won 34 straight games in their conference, including going 16-0 in the league last year. And when we were talking to Tara about that, she talks about puzzle pieces. You see, she kind of has a little like gleam in her eye, though. She loves that stuff, right? Trying to figure things out.
No question. No question. I think every year is a new challenge. They certainly return a lot of players. She was very high on the super sophomores, as she calls them, and talking about the jump from freshman year to sophomore year, everyone on this roster improving, led by a pair of All-Americans, and you bring in 5 freshmen who are ready to play.
Yeah.
Who are ready to play. And it's a lot, and it's a lot to balance, and oftentimes coaches have the issue of not everybody's going to get a play. How do we keep everybody happy? But you know what solves that? Winning. Yeah. Right? Winning solves that.
Foul on Fowler led to the free throw trip for Jones the last time down the floor. Portland with just 7 points so far this season, or in this game, pardon me. Coming in unbeaten. Coach Meek's team was picked to finish second behind Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference. Upset in the WCC last night when Montana State beat BYU in women's basketball. Here's Jones in the open court. And a jump in 2-point range. Decides to kick it back out. Jones got it blocked out front. Still the pass got through, but Navarre couldn't hang on. These two teams played last year. Stanford, the winner, down in Palo Alto, and in that game, Haley Jones had a triple-double. Not just her first career triple-double, but the first Stanford triple-double in 20 years.
That seems incredible to me. All the great players that Stanford has had, to not have a triple-double in 20 years.
Brink coming in to get the rebound. And Jones bringing the ball up. Working on Fowler, one of the Australians. Portland has not scored now in almost 3 minutes. Shot clock really skinny now. Inside, Prechtel. Nice turnaround.
Well, that was just great patience, utilizing the clock, moving the ball, finding the gaps in the defense, incredible patience. And then you get a one-on-one ISO inside. Not used to seeing Prechtel on the interior, right?
Doesn't get a lot of paint points, but that one worked beautifully. Shot clock is off now for Lindsay, who is from Seattle. And extension of an arm, foul on Navarre.
I mean, this is where Haley Jones, time and score, understanding end of quarter, wanting to make sure they get the best shot on the floor, take the shot clock all the way down, and you get a one-on-one ISO.
Cameron Brink with an authoritative block to end the first quarter. She's averaging 4 blocks a game so far in the season. This one should have counted for at least 1, 2.
Are you kidding me? Watch this rotation and elevation. She says, don't bring that in here. I lead the nation in blocks.
Welcome back. Stanford ending the first quarter on an 8-0 run, taking on the University of Portland. Small school, just 4,200 people went here, including our own Malika Andrews. 4 NCAA tournament appearances, and known for their women's soccer team. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Pino, Milbert, Shannon McMillan, and Christine Sinclair, the great Canadian who has scored more international goals than anybody in the history of the sport.
It's really incredible. You saw Eric Spoelstra up there as well, the head coach of the Miami Heat, who's done an outstanding job. Greg Anthony, another famous alum.
Now Michael Meek taking over here at Portland. He was at George Fox, which is a Christian school, a college here where Scott Rueck preceded him. And Coach Rueck has done tremendous things at Oregon State. So great basketball minds around here.
Sure are, and Scott Rueck and Michael Meek both doing a terrific job at George Fox and getting opportunities and continuing to take care of business.
Portland right now in a major scoring drought. Fowler had it rim out. Brink comes up with the rebound.
And ironic that they met last season in the NIT.
Yeah.
Portland losing to Scott Rueck's Oregon State Beavers.
Oregon State going to be here next week. Phil Knight tournaments will be here. Some of those games being played right here in this building, the Chiles Center. Very often.
Yeah, I mean, she's just taken such a huge step. And, you know, 1, opportunity, of course, averaging a little bit more in terms of minutes per game. But 2, ownership, right? Taking ownership over the summer of getting better on balance. She looks stronger. She looks confident.
Portland breaks a drought that had gone almost 5 minutes. They've missed 11 of 12 shots. Now with 9, and Coach Meek is going to sub in 4 players the next opportunity. Brink with the nice turnaround.
You know what Stanford does such a good job of? You know, they know they want to get the ball to the high post against this zone. They don't try to do it on first pass in offense. They move it side to side. They get a couple of different rotations, and then the quick interior pass, and Cameron Brink able to just shoot right over the top.
Yeah, they really are when they're running their stuff. So pretty to look at. You talk about the execution. Smart kids go to Stanford, and they run things so well.
And they're unselfish, right? They're unselfish. We believe in it. We know it's going to work. We're going to take our time. It doesn't matter who gets the bucket. Doesn't matter who gets the shot.
Cochran with the drive, another Australian who led the nation in blocks last year, and she heads to the bench. But you got to know what you're getting into. People who come to Stanford, you mentioned the freshman class. They know the minutes are not going to be. You're not going to play 30 minutes a game. You're going to have to fit into the system. You're going to have to learn things. You're going to have to just adapt, and they buy into it.
Yeah, well, no question about it. I mean, you go to Stanford for a reason, right? You go there for a reason, and understand that it takes time, it takes patience. I mean, we're talking about the #1 overall recruit in Lauren Betts, who hasn't even gotten on the floor yet, right? So she's coming in and she's playing behind a Cameron Brink. She's playing behind a Kiki Arioff, and she's patient, and she understands, and she learns, and we are going to see her on the floor early in ball games as the season progresses because of it.
Arioff continuing to make great strides, has 8 points so far in this game. Another turnover. Haley Jones coming up with the basketball.
And Pam, this is a Portland team that has shot the ball really well. Shot the ball 54% on the season in their 2 games. Shot it 44% a year ago. But the length of Stanford really causing them problems. Not just shooting the basketball over or around them, but moving the basketball around the perimeter.
Cameron Brink has done a good job of drawing fouls in this game. Wednesday night, college basketball on ESPN2 on the men's side. It is Drew Timme and #2 Gonzaga taking on the Longhorns of Texas in Austin. Coverage starts at 9:30 Eastern. That's 6:30 Portland time. Bulldogs won last year's game in Spokane. And Cameron Brink at the free throw line. Both her freshman and sophomore season set new Stanford blocks records. And if you're just joining us, she had one heck of a block right at the end of the first quarter. Back home, the only game Stanford will play in the state of Oregon this year. They don't have Oregon State or Oregon on their schedule this season on the road.
All around awarded to the pilots.
Well, you mentioned the block, Pam. I mean, just look at this rotation and elevation. That looked more like a volleyball kill right there, and her parents were loving it.
And her dad played basketball with Del Curry at Virginia Tech, and her mom was Del Curry's wife's roommate.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
the godparents.
Yes, the godparents.
The godparents, and Steph Curry was in the house for their game against Cal State Northridge.
Take that basket away, steps, and look, oh, come on. Not quite agreeing with that call, but yeah, very close. Yes, Del Curry and his wife Sonia are Cameron's godparents.
Yes.
Very close with the family and is carried on with Steph in the second generation. Neat. There's Cochran blocked again by Brink.
And look at her on the floor. I mean, that's one of those situations where she gets the block. She's the first one down the floor. I want to try to get her a touch on that rim run if you can, and then you see just settle down. Like, let's calm down. Let's take care of the basketball.
Brink, just a junior. Great hands, and as you mentioned, especially when a big kid like that runs the floor that well.
Yes, reward them.
That shot affected by Brink. Bruno had to make it a rainbow shot. Jones, one hand puts it in. Jones, a senior this year, does have 1 year of eligibility left, but has already said that she's not going to use her COVID year, and we should expect her to be a pretty high draft pick.
Yes, we absolutely should. I think Haley Jones is one of those players, too, that she can just play so many positions, right? She's the ultimate utility player. You see her as a lead guard often this year already for Stanford, can play on the wing, can use her size and length on the interior.
Another Stanford turnover as Meek drove into the lane. Unselfish basketball by the Cardinal. Very often in their last game, 15 points against Pacific, hit all 7 of her shots. You look at some of the shooting percentages, Kiki coming into this game was shooting 81% from the floor.
That's incredible. Incredible. But I think it's a testament to the way that Stanford runs their offense, right? As Cameron Brink gets another block, just efficient, getting their teammates the best shots on the floor.
Brink over Cochran!
And this is a good sign for Stanford. Cameron Brink and Haley Jones both shooting the ball well. You know, have had a little bit of, not a problem, but they haven't quite gotten going offensively, I think, the way that we expected them to. Haven't had to play a lot of minutes early in this season either, but at the same time, getting them going is important.
They're combined 5 for 8 in this game from the floor. 4th game in 7 days for Stanford. And there's the freshman, Lopolo, and Stanford showing that they are one of the best.
Absolutely, getting it done on both ends. Cameron Brink has been the enforcer in this ball game. Great job of getting into the paint, blocking that shot, and then the turnaround jumper. You can't stop that.
Thank you, Kelsey and Rebecca. Hey, how about Iowa had to go to overtime today?
Yeah, Drake, really one of those teams that was pushing Iowa into OT. Lisa Bluter returning to Drake, where she coached for so many years.
Right now we are in Portland. Cameron Brink getting a rest. Pam Ward and Stephanie White joining you. Stanford playing again its 4th game in 7 days. You see Portland just 4 of 18 from the floor. And it's an 8-0 run. It will continue, at least for now. Brooke Demeter, number 21, now in for Stanford. Hannah Jump, who is just a technically beautiful shot. And now we get a look at the freshman, Lauren Betts. There she is, the number 1 overall recruit in this last class.
Well, again, you know, we've mentioned Stanford's depth, and they can just come at you in waves, and they can come at you with that size off the bench as well. Lauren Betts listed at 6'7", but a strong 6'7", a skilled 6'7" inside.
But that doesn't look like a freshman body. And I love talking to Coach Vanderveer as Betts got the rebound. She said that Lauren Betts is delightful.
Yes, she
humble
did.
personality, very coachable, a sponge, not complaining about not getting a lot of minutes. Wow.
Yeah, just really good ball movement. Again, understanding where the shots are going to come from, patient enough to wait until they get it there.
One of the few open looks that Portland has gotten. Knocks it down. Now Jones, there's some of the trapping that Portland's known for, but you saw Betts put up her hands, just the big height advantage, and that was easy.
Yeah, and I think that's one, again, advantage of when you have a Haley Jones running the point at 6'1". She can see over the top of that trap, so she can get rid of it. She can find the open player, and then the extra pass by Dimitri.
Samia in the game, misses wide left, rebound, jump had it taken away. Good hustle there by Burnham, but it did not pay off for the Pilots. Haley Jones falling down, got it to go, and she's as surprised as anyone. Great response from Haley.
Using that glass again, even on the way down.
41-13, Stanford. Burnham blocked this time by Jones, who came out. Did not see Frawley coming from behind, and then Burnham able to capitalize. Burnham in her 2nd year at Portland was the 6th player last season, starting now. As we approach a minute to go in the first half. That's good
Nice
defense,
pass.
but a good pass right out of pressure.
That was a great look. And that's what Portland's going to have to do. They're going to have to find a way to force rotations where they can get open shots or get out in transition, because the length of Stanford really causing them problems in the half court.
Turning around, finally getting a bucket to meet her. I think was surprised that there was no one defending her. She's got a couple of buckets off the bench. Portland slowing things down a bit. So a true freshman from New Zealand. Shot clock is dying. Contact, no foul. And Stanford with a sizable 43-17 lead at the half. Coming up next, we have Kelsey and Rebecca. Wonder how they're going to grade this play. Haley Jones doing it all. She doesn't even have to be standing up to score a basket. Stanford up big, the #2 team in the country, as we send you to Kelsey and Rebecca.
Carolina comes to town, the 1-2 matchup. Looking forward to that one.
That will be on ABC. South Carolina with an impressive win over the University of Maryland. To get things rolling, Haley Jones gets fouled to start things off, taking on this Portland team. We're at the Chiles Center. Nice campus here at the University of Portland.
A nice arena. Great turnout for this matchup.
Cameron Brink, by the way, from Beaverton, Oregon. There you see the folks who've come out on what was a really cold morning, getting a little bit better outside. But Cameron Brink playing back close to her hometown of Beaverton. Stanford in the second quarter, this didn't even look right. Shot 86%, 12 of 14 from the floor to really pull away. Cochran.
Coach Meek talked about one of the dangers of playing a team in Stanford is just that they come at you in waves. And you look at teams who oftentimes when they go to their second unit sometimes have a dip. And Haley Jones is showing you that she's finding her range. She shot it at only 31% so far on the season. But as Tara Vanderveer mentioned, we're not worried about her. She's going to figure it out. You know, she's going to find her way. Again, playing a different role, a little bit more that lead guard position this season for Stanford.
And Jones with the defense. Brink comes over and has another final screen. So I bet you she loves blocking shots more than scoring buckets.
Oh, I'll bet she does. And I'll bet it gets her team hype.
Cameron Brink leading the country in blocks so far this season. Lucy Cochran, number 30 in white for Portland, led the country in blocks last season. She has been held at bay so far in this matchup. Portland known for its pressure, trying to do that right now, but the impressive true freshman point guard, Apollo, gets it over to Brink. What range!
Cameron Brink hit a three, the first bucket of the season for Stanford in their opener against San Diego State, and hadn't hit another one until this ball game. But again, you can just kind of see, her and Haley Jones start to find a rhythm offensively. And remember, they're playing with new players, right? Stanford graduated 3 starters who played a lot of the minutes together. They're finding their way with a new group as well.
Apollo picks up the foul.
Well, just look at this great job by Lapolo, finding the open Cameron Brink and stepping up and knocking it down.
And the celebration on the bench. Brink that time went for another block, but picked up a personal foul.
Number 22, Cameron Brink, her first second team foul.
Just her first. And by the way, that three that Haley Jones just hit was her first 3 of the season. She had missed all 6 coming into this game. Monday Night Football matchup in the NFC East. It's the unbeaten Philadelphia Eagles taking on Washington, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN, Deportes, and the Monday Night Countdown kicks off our coverage at 6 Eastern time.
Pam, I know you're happy because your Vikings were able to pull it out, but did you see the Eagles being undefeated at this point in the season?
No, I didn't see the Vikings having only 1 loss, which was, by the way, to Philadelphia. And that Vikings-Bills game today was crazy. So they pulled it out in overtime. Rapolo's going to be good. She's already good, but special freshman missed that layup.
She is. She plays poised. She has a control over the offense. You see, she's strong.
Cochran challenged Brink, and she's like, just a minute.
And you see her on the interior with another block, and I believe that's 5. Her career high is 6.
But she has done 5 times.
5 times.
She's had 5 6-block games. Burnham, that's a lot of contact. Draws the foul. Jones and Brink defending.
Stanford foul number 30, Haley Jones.
Haley,
second.
second.
At free throw line for Portland, number 24, Macy Burnham.
Macy Burnham,
shooting 2.
Who is a transfer. She is from the state of Washington. 22 points in a win against Hawaii earlier this year. Stanford's going to be heading to Hawaii.
That wouldn't be a bad
Classic.
That wouldn't be a bad trip.
Volunteer to be a talent person or something for that.
Well, you mentioned Macy Burnham was 6th Player of the Year last year in the West Coast Conference and really finished the year strong, averaging almost 14 points a game in the last 13 games and has done well for Portland so far this season. But this is just a different beast when you think about playing Stanford. Their length, their athleticism, they're not getting the same types of shots or ball movement around the perimeter that they're used to getting.
Prechtel back into the game. Portland also playing shorthanded. We had talked about Haley Andrews, the original Australian. She was first team all-conference second team last year, first team the year before that. And she is sitting on the bench in sweats. And boy, she's going to be an important component as they get into conference play.
Yes, Andrews returning from a knee injury that she suffered last season. And she's a stat stuffer, and she's a leader for this Pilots team.
Brink, terrific pass.
Cameron Brink just sprints the floor. I mean, the rim run, when you have a big who runs like that, is so tough to defend. And all eyes are on her, finding her when she's streaking down the lane.
Great speed. Rebound chased down by Rapolo. Whistle before the shot.
Cameron Brink, we mentioned she's just fast. Look at where she starts in the restricted area, even with the ball, and just beats everybody down the floor. And that's that true point guard that Tara Vanderveer was talking about. Didn't really have it a year ago. Remember 2 seasons ago, graduated Kiana Williams and just looked to kind of fill the gap a season ago. And now Rapolo taking ownership of that position.
Kiana Williams, coach said Key was the key when she played, but got the lion's share of minutes at point. And now Rapolo coming to campus. Haley Jones using the glass for a row. You must love that, Indiana girl.
I love it. 3rd time we've seen her find a way to get that angle to use the glass. But this is a good sign for Stanford. I mean, Haley Jones only averaging 7 points a game coming into this. Not that she has to for Stanford to be successful, but you want her to be efficient. You want her to find the balance of facilitating and running things and then getting hers when she needs to.
Raleigh passed it up because Brink was guarding her. Shot clock winding down. That goes out of bounds. It will be Stanford basketball.
Now this is just so good right here. The great recognition. You see Ashlyn Prechtel's cut drew the defender, and that lane line wide open, on balance, tough off the glass.
Drove in with her left hand, finished with her dominant right. Haley now with 15 points, 7 rebounds, and just 1 assist. Did have the triple-double last year against Portland. 17 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists in that game. Bechtel cut off the baseline. Now Frawley getting it out. Meek with the miss. Bechtel with the rebound. Meek almost forced the turnover. Hannah jump. In a split second, put that shot up and in. Stanford rolling here, up 57-18.
Three-point basket by number 33, Hannah Jump. Highlights fouls on number 5, Emmy Shearer, her first.
Foul on Shearer. And now,
we
will take a break. Our Van Beers team rolling. Welcome back. Let's take a look at the top 4 teams in the country. Iowa had to go to overtime to beat Drake today. How about Texas? Rory Harmon doing some things. They are at number 3. And yes, the Stanford Cardinal, you're getting a big dose of them this afternoon. They will play South Carolina a week from today on ABC. That should be one heck of a matchup. They had a very memorable Final Four matchup a couple years ago.
Yes, they did. And you see my top 6 for the Final Four. Of course, South Carolina, Stanford. I think Tennessee has the pieces. Can they put it together? Texas, Rory Harmon right now, day to day, so get her back on the floor. Ohio State has been impressive. If they can stay consistent, I think they have a chance. And my dark horse, the Cyclones of Iowa State. I love that Ashley Jones came back. Of course, you think about players like Lexi Donarski, and that team has some pieces. If they get the right draw, they could be that dark horse.
Very gritty team. Bill Finley always doing a great job with them. Haley Jones. She's been smiling a lot today. Things going their way, and Portland really struggling. The score indicates that. They've not hit a field goal here in this quarter. They knew it would be difficult, and it has proven to be that and more.
Well, we heard Michael Meek talk to his team in the locker room before the game and talk about controlling the controllables, how hard we play, playing together. And Stanford just taking advantage of every opportunity. The margin for error is small when you play a team like this, right? They make you pay.
So they're down 41. How do you keep this from being dispirited?
Well, Stanford's winning by an average of, what, 52 points a game right now? And when you look at what they've done so far early in this season, I think you have to focus on the big picture. You have to try to keep them locked into that, right? What is the big picture? Expose ourselves so that we know what we have to work on when it comes to conference tournament time. When it comes to playing in the West Coast Conference, where do we have gaps? How do we fill them? We're working to build our depth. We certainly don't have one of our best players, and Haley Andrews on the floor, but we compete hard. We will continue to compete hard. Let's continue to see Haley Andrews right there. Let's continue to execute our offense. Let's continue to get better in our defense. More than anything, continue to fight throughout the course of this ball game.
Haley Andrews last year got hurt in early February. It was another whistle. They were 14-4 when Haley got hurt. That was their record. After that, 6-7. Not coincidental. Most of that still in the conference. And Coach Meek is hopeful to get her back in early December as they get things started. They'll be playing Oregon, another tough out-of-conference game, but Coach Meek's team picked to finish second behind perennial power Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference. Tu'u delivering at the free throw line. ACL earlier in her career. First that we have seen Boscana, sophomore from Greece, remarkably the first European ever to play for Tara Vanderveer.
That doesn't seem right, does it?
But it is. It's in the notes.
The notes are helpful.
We also have another Greek player on the roster this year, so Tara has doubled her lifetime stock of Europeans. Back to the free throw line.
And for the Cardinal, number 21, Brooke Dimitri, and number 51,
Tara Vanderveer. We would need like a whole quarter to go through all the stuff that she has done. All the accolades, 17-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year, 5-time National Coach of the Year, etc. Tuesday night's a busy one. The 12th Annual State Farm Champions Classic, men's ball, Kentucky, Michigan State, Duke and Kansas, and sandwiched in between, the exclusive reveal of college football's top 25 rankings as we head towards the playoffs. That's on ESPN and the ESPN app. Vanderveer winning her 3rd national championship a couple years ago. I like Lapolo.
I really like Lapolo. You know, I think she just has a great feel for the game. She has great poise about her. You know, as the season progresses and they start playing tougher competition, she's going to see a heck of a defensive team in South Carolina. How does she handle that pressure? How can she continue to lead the team? But early, she has been impressive.
What a game against San Diego State this year, did Lapolo. 11 assists, 0 turnovers. Come on.
That was her collegiate opener.
Yeah. Wide open look. See if we could get it to go that time. You see various combinations that Coach Vanderveer has used in this game. Betts back in, missed. Ball pulled down by Cochran.
You know, one of the other benefits of these first 4 games, even though they've played 4 games in 7 days for Tara Vanderveer, is that nobody's had to play over 20 minutes. So they're not heavy loads. They've been able to play a lot of players. She's been able to see different combinations. But while they're playing a lot of games in a short period of time, it's not really weighing on their bodies like it would if you were playing a 7 or 8 player rotation.
A lot of rest. You see a lot of talent on that bench. We haven't seen Fran Believy play at all. So Golden State, they had a busy week. Wimps, they only played 3 games in 7 days. And Stanford, this is their 4th game in 7 days, and had to do more travel.
Well, Stanford is used to being on the road. How many days were they on the road during the COVID pandemic? They couldn't play at home. Had to play on the road the entire time.
For months they had to stay away because of COVID restrictions in the county in which Stanford is, Palo Alto.
And oftentimes, you know, Stanford and Northwestern, you know, programs like that have a condensed schedule in November because they have to take a long break for exams in December.
That was perhaps got away with steps, but another foul call. And what is it, a 10-day break coming up?
Yeah, they've got a 10-day break coming up, and then they come off of that break and play Tennessee on ABC.
Right. And that's, we just saw a great shot, Praven, Martin, our director. Haley Jones on the bench, and that's something that Coach Vanderveer talked to us about. Even when she's on the bench, you see her coaching, and she's involved in the game, engaged with all her teammates.
Yeah, she just raves about Haley Jones's leadership, her coachability. She says she's a coach on the floor. She doesn't care if she scores. She doesn't care if she facilitates. Even on the bench, she is just such a tremendous leader for this team.
In her final season at Stanford, Roscana at the free throw line, gets the lead back up to 40. A minute left to go in this 3rd quarter. Samia picked up her dribble. MJ Bruno. Portland using a lot of players as well in this game, but just too much talent on this Stanford squad. Fran Believy, we just said she hadn't played yet. Here she is, number 5. She of dunk fame. And how about that? India Navarre.
And Pam, speaking of Lapolo, that right there was a subtle thing, but she saw India Navarre starting to make that baseline cut. She could have made the post-entry pass to Fran Believy, but a secondary defender was coming. There wasn't a rotation. She waited and gave up the pass on time, on target to get that shot. And that's stuff you can't teach.
Right. That's, again, this is a true freshman.
Yes.
Coming in playing for, right now, the #2 team in the country. And fitting right in. There's Fran Beliebe, senior from the state of Colorado.
And for the Pilots, #2, Edie Crawley. #24, Macy Burner.
NCAA tournament. That's Missouri State last year.
Samia, shooting 2.
Here's Samia at the line. True freshman from New Zealand.
Name the other dunks in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, gosh. Candace Parker did it against Army.
Yes.
There was 2 others? Or just
one other.
Stephanie White.
Well, maybe, but that one wasn't on record.
Okay.
Charlotte Smith, right? Wasn't it Charlotte Smith?
Portland is a beautiful city.
Kelsey Riggs with his studio update. And #7 Louisville is in a battle with Belmont. Tootie Jones already has 15. She ties the game at 41 there, but Haley Van Lith on the other end answers right back. Olivia Cochran inside. It is a tied game right now at 46, Pam and Stephanie.
Wow, what an upset that would be. Belmont always a tough out. And Coach Walls likes to get challenges early on. And there you take a look at the AP poll. Stanford and South Carolina, again, going to play a week from today.
UConn and Texas will meet up tomorrow, I believe. Indiana will play at Tennessee as well. Some great games.
We'll have some next week when we're back here for the Phil Knight tournaments in Portland. UConn will be playing Duke in one of the games. Iowa State will be here. Some really good basketball on your way next week as well. Thanksgiving Day.
Yes.
Football is so passé on Thanksgiving. I think you need to watch women's basketball.
I agree. I agree. So happy basketball's back.
Pam Ward and Stephanie White joining you from the Chiles Center on the campus of the University of Portland. The Pilots. Fran Beliebe in that third quarter. Portland shot 1 of 12 from the floor. They have yet to hit a three-pointer, Steph, and this is a team that hit 10 in their first 2 games.
They did. This is a team a year ago, though, that only shot at 27% from 3. So, you know, finding a way to score against a team with the length that Stanford has. With this lineup with Stanford, I would imagine Portland's going to get a little bit more in terms of ball movement and higher percentage shots, maybe not quite in their heads as much, but at the same time, finding other ways to score the basketball.
All the starters are out now for Stanford. Janiyah Harrell with the ball now, checking in. Redshirt freshman from Sacramento. So some quality minutes in these early season games. Clara Vanderveer again talking about trying to get the puzzle pieces to fit. Beliebe took it to Cochran, who's an elite shot blocker. Cochran with some of these reserves in the game. We'll see if the offense can click a little bit better, but Beliebe got a hand on it. Clock into single digits. Fowler got it to fall. Great game against Stanford last year, 13 points and 8 rebounds in the loss. That was a much closer game. First basket in a minute and a half for either team, and now Portland trying to put together back-to-back buckets. Going inside. Fowler drew the foul.
Well, Portland doing a good job of recognizing the length of Stanford is not there on the interior. So getting some post-entry passes, looking to drive the ball to the basket, and a good job of Fowler of just putting Fran Beliebe under the rim, using that rim as a screener.
Fowler heading to the free throw line. Really good player from Townsville, Australia. 3-time first-team all-conference in her career, averaging over 17 points a game. 4th in Portland scoring history. And just a junior, she's about 350 points away from being the all-time leading scorer. So Alex Fowler, an elite player who's been in the Australian national team program, which is one of the strongest in the world.
And incredibly consistent. I mean, she's just been consistent for this program. And there's Lauren Betts, and again, it's the waves, right?
Yeah.
It's the bodies, and we're talking about bodies of All-Americans, high school All-Americans coming into this program. Lauren Betts, the #1 recruit in the country a year ago.
Betts with the block on Cochran. Lauren Betts in the first 3 games averaged about 11 minutes per game. Harriel lost it out of bounds.
Well, great job of getting position. You see Lauren Betts facing up, staying poised, good footwork on the interior. Great counter move, and then on the defensive end, staying disciplined with the block shot, keeping it in play.
Betts averaging 2 blocks a game so far in this young season. Cochran, not known for her offensive skill, airballed it. Ariel with the ball in her hands, running the point for Coach Vanderveer. Likely will not see her starters back in the game. When you talk about the waves of players, usually you're like, oh, thank goodness. Cameron Brink's on the bench. Haley Jones is on the bench. Hannah Jump is on the bench. And then it's like, whoa, look at these other people coming in.
Look who's coming in now.
Also in, number 32.
Yeah, it really is incredible, the waves. I mean, we're not just talking about like a punch off the bench, right? You're not talking about 1, 2, maybe 3 players. You're talking about the waves of players that Tara Vanderveer can go to. And that in itself is a challenge. It's a challenge because now you've seen maybe 3 different lineups, all these guys playing together. But what does it look like as Demetri makes another jumper? What does it look like if Lauren Betts is in the game with Kiki Ariafen? You know, what does it look like? What would it look like if Betts and Brinks were in the game together, right? In terms of defensively, what would that look like? I mean, just finding different combinations that will help this Stanford team be its best come March.
And a luxury certainly for Tara Vanderveer, but there's the first 3 for Portland. It's the Kiwi. Emmy Shearer knocking it down. But a luxury to have all those pieces, but still a challenge.
It is. It is an incredible challenge to be able to put them all together.
Too tall for Believy. Pilots. Not bad, just 9 turnovers for Portland in this game. Just too much for Stanford, shooting the ball well. 64% now for the game, pardon me, for the Cardinal. Came in shooting 56% on the season. They've just upped it. Fowler with the miss. Betts whipped it out. Harriel, her 3. Off the mark. Good hustle by Believy. Haley Jones, the best, most talented cheerleader maybe.
We have a media timeout on the floor.
Take a break.
Haley Jones here from the Stanford women's basketball team. Your wishes have come true. Today, you can catch me on Jeopardy as I present my own category on the Stanford Athletics program. Trust me, it's going to be a slam dunk.
That was Haley Jones last Wednesday on the video. You could give the answers, and she gave them all. That was shot at Maples Pavilion.
That was very cool.
Really cool. Of all the great Stanford athletes that have come through, Haley Jones was the one who was on that show. And you got all of them, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
if you get an opportunity to check that out, check out the clip. Yeah, I got them all right.
Of course you did.
Well, it was sports.
Academic
so
All-American.
It was sports.
Whatever. That's really cool that the folks at Jeopardy selected Haley Jones to do that. Tara Vanderveer impressed, of course, with what Haley did. Shearer, a couple of threes here, giving the home folks something to cheer about. All freshman team, last year, pardon me, in the West Coast Conference, and they're playing hard. Burnham trying to get the ball away. Betts almost tipped that in. Portland trying to come up with some positives.
Well, they are. They're finding their way on the offensive end. They're shooting the ball with confidence. And again, you go back to what Michael Meek talked to his team about, controlling the things we can control. How hard do we play? How well do we play together? How well do we execute our stuff? And they're doing that. They're continuing to fight.
We knew this was a team, he said, incredible talent, Hall of Fame coach taking on this team. And they did qualify for the 2020 NCAA tournament. They were picked towards the bottom of the conference, ended up winning their conference tournament, but because of COVID could not participate. That was Coach Meek's first year. And picked to finish second behind Gonzaga this season. Played them a couple of times during the regular season. There's your Betts, who was challenged. Speaking of Gonzaga, the men's basketball team going to take on Texas coming up. Back end of the home-and-home series on ESPN2 on Wednesday. Check it out, 9:30 Eastern. That is 6:30 Pacific time, 8:30 for you folks in Austin. Also available on the app as well as ESPN2.
How about that win that the Zags pulled out against Michigan State? A 1-point victory.
Great wins already early on in this season. Maisie Burnham has just picked up her second personal foul for the Pilots, and they are not airline pilots, but they are water pilots.
Water pilots.
Those who drive ships with the helm.
At the helm,
yeah,
yes.
The helm
They're
is
at the
part
helm
of their logo on an anchor.
Pilots fouls under 23, Diana Kaituku, her second, 15 foul.
There you go, that's the helm.
At the line of the criminal, number 51.
Or the steering wheel, as some novices who don't know anything about ships, me, would call it. Really good. Relatively small school, again, about 4,000 students. Betts at the line. You like her free throw shooting form?
I do. I do. You know, just looking at these players and their bios, it's really fun for me, you know, to look and see, like Lauren Betts' mom won a national championship as a volleyball player at Long Beach. Her father played basketball. Like a lot of these players and their parents who played, you know, the sport or other sports and played professionally, it's just really, really neat and fun to see. Continuing the legacy.
39-point advantage now for Stanford. Agnes Eminoku, number 2 among the bench players in. Betts comes away with it. Baller goes behind her back. Inside challenging Betts and drawing the foul. Kaituku has shown some good aggression throughout the afternoon. But we have one of the best players in the country here for Stanford, and Haley Jones, National Player of the Year conversation. Leah Boston won it last year. for South Carolina. What do you think, Steph?
Caitlin Clark always in that conversation as well. I think it's fun when you look at the different players that could be involved. I think those are certainly the three front runners, with Aaliyah Boston obviously leading the way in what she does, not just offensively but defensively. And you know, it's crazy to think when you look at those numbers right there. It's crazy to think that South Carolina could possibly be even better, right? Even deeper, even more athletic, even better on the defensive end of the floor, and they were already locked down on the defensive end.
Trying to repeat as national champions. The last team to repeat as national champions, it wasn't UConn. It's been a while.
It's been a while, and the matchup on Sunday against Stanford, the matchup of 1 and 2. I mean, Stanford is a team that has the length, has the athleticism, probably has the depth to compete against South Carolina. So really interesting to see what it looks like early in the season in November, and then a potential matchup in March.
Good job by Believy to finish, running the floor well on that last run down the floor. South Carolina also with some tremendous depth for Dawn Staley. Tamia with a nice turnaround, the true freshman from New Zealand. And part of that national team program as well. Again, 10 of the 16 players on Portland are either from Australia or New Zealand.
Also checking in number 21, Emily.
We will take a timeout. $1:10 to go. For Stanford is 4-0 on the season.
True story. 4 preeminent programs meet to tip off the season every year. Kentucky, Michigan State, Duke, Kansas. Experience the State Farm Champions Classic. Begins Tuesday at 7 on ESPN.
Great men's basketball matchups for you, but not better than this. Come on, a week from today.
1-2, nothing better than that. Pam, I'm really excited about this matchup. And you think about Stanford being a team who has the potential, right? South Carolina, a heavy favorite to repeat as national champions. But South Carolina brings back a core, a nucleus. And you lose Destiny Henderson to the WNBA draft, but you're bringing back Victoria Saxton, Bria Beal, Zaya Cook, along with the National Player of the Year and Aaliyah Boston. Plus, you know, you add a Raven Johnson who was injured a year ago. You have players who didn't get a lot of minutes. As Fran Believy goes up, and I think the crowd thought maybe she was going to put that one down.
Yeah, I heard people behind us yelling, dunk, dunk.
I'm intrigued to see, you know, South Carolina on the road and Stanford, what they look like with this group in November against South Carolina versus what they could potentially look like in March.
Stanford with that unforgettable win in the Final Four against them a couple of years ago when Boston missed the putback. We look forward to that coming up next Sunday. Stanford plays Cal Poly midweek at home before South Carolina comes to town, and what will be a noon local tip. MJ Bruno from Spokane knocking down the 3. And the Stanford Cardinal with an impressive 87-47 win over Portland. This is kind of what we expected?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a Stanford team that's seasoned. They have some new pieces. They're putting it together. They use their size. They use their execution to their advantage.
5 blocks for Cameron Brink in her homecoming. Haley Jones and Stanford unbeaten as they head into next week. Portland's first loss of the year. For Stephanie White and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Pam Ward, Michael Molinari, our producer, Brandon Martin, our director. The Brinks with a very happy homecoming. Time now for SportsCenter, Nicole Briscoe and Max McGee. Haley Jones and Stanford.